Hey y'all, hi. Happy New Year. I'm filming this on January 1st, 2021. It probably won't go up on YouTube until the 2nd, but c'est la vie. And here's what I have to say to you today. And by you today, I mean my fellow beauty lovers. We are in a pickle. I've been thinking, and I think that we're in a pickle. Beautiful things are such a magnificent function of human culture, right? Velvet, blue paint, pencil lead, stained glass. We can't be faulted for loving beautiful man-made things. And in fact, I've said this before, I love us for loving them. But the combination of contemporary capitalism and internet marketing has put us, those of us who have an inherent passion for beautiful things, at grave risk for various kinds of bankruptcy, not just monetary bankruptcy, but also that of time and energy and focus. And we're being prevented from doing our utmost. We're being drained by consumerism because it's so interwoven with this gorgeous quality that's fundamental to our characters, which is the love of beauty. So I'm on a mission to not get drained, basically, so that I can do my work in the world. But in managing my own consumerism, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? I don't want to forfeit all beautiful things. My aesthetics are tied to human history and to my feminism and to my artistry and to my particular kind of power and to my presence in the lives of everyone I know. You can't isolate that from physical stuff, and therefore you can't isolate it from some amount of shopping. But when I came to this mission to not get drained 3 years ago, I was so far gone that I had to stop shopping completely for a year. I had to do that first to reset the habits of my brain. And that was my no-buy year. That was 2018. So I did that. I did that on this channel. And now I'm trying to walk the middle path. I'm a work in progress, in case you can't tell, and I don't have all the answers, but I do have a lot of questions. And at the beginning of January, I like to sit down and let you know how I'm planning to approach the coming year. So that's what I'm doing today. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. First things first, I still have a lot of wrap-up material to film from 2020. So I did inventory my makeup on camera. That video went up recently, but I haven't inventoried my clothing yet or my skincare and accessories, etc. I am planning to do that, and I am planning to talk about the erstwhile year of less stuff. Time just got away from me. I spent the last week of the year, pretty much the last week or so of the year, filming overhead videos, which was amazing. And I have filmed a bunch of content, overhead stuff, that hasn't gone up yet. Some of the videos already went up, but I have some more that I filmed and I'm like editing them and interspersing them with talking heads content. And so they're going to be coming one by one over the next couple of weeks. And some of them I'm so excited to share with you. So I'm not sorry that I did it, but it just meant that some of what is slated for like the end of the year got pushed into the beginning of this year. Second, perhaps the elephant in the room, especially if you've been following me recently, I'm a mess. I'm weary. I'm in transition. I am letting go of a lot of stuff right now. Some because I've been forced to, and some by force of will. I mean, when I started my channel, my budgeting channel, when I started like what am I talking about? My budgeting channel. When I started budgeting at the beginning of 2019, I was like a different person from the person I was when I started my channel in 2018, because it was a year later and I'd been through my no-buy year. And in many ways, I was once again a different person at the beginning of 2020. It's just the nature of human evolution. We change. But this year, I feel like I've lived 10 years since the beginning of 2020. Like I just feel much, much older and very, very different. And I'm particularly feeling that thing lately where like the older you get, the less you know, or the more aware you are of how little you know. I just feel acutely aware these days of how little I know about what's going to happen. More than ever, I feel provoked into questions and patience and forgiveness and letting go, or maybe beholden to those things. I just don't know what this is going to be the year of. That's what I'm trying to say. I am going to tell you, I am about to tell you what I'm going to do around budgeting this year and the changes I'm going to make to my channel structure. But that is just pretty much the measure of it. That is the measure of what I'm able to tell you right now at the beginning of the year about my expectations of myself for 2021. So budgeting, yes, I am going to do it. And as foreshadowed, I'm going to aim for a seasonal spending structure with long stretches of no-buy in between. So 4 times a year, I'm going to sit myself down and assess my financial situation and decide what I can afford. I think I'm going to do it at the very beginning of January, so now, right? Like one is happening right now this week, and one will be at the very beginning of April. The third one will be at the beginning of July, and the fourth one will be at the beginning of October. I think that's what I'm going to do. I am, as I did last year, kind of like allowing myself a little bit of flexibility, but I see no reason why that shouldn't work out. So in each of those little week-long seasons, I'm going to decide, I'm going to give myself a budget, but I'm going to wait until it's time for the actual season to decide on the budget because, again, I just don't know what this year is going to bring. So 4 times a year, I'll sit myself down, decide what I can afford, and then I'll do a little haul of clothes, makeup, accessories, whatever. And then I'll stop shopping again for 3 months until the next one. This will do many things. Number one, and possibly the most exciting to me or the most important to me, it will mean that for the vast majority of the days of the year, I will be not in the market for anything. I won't be shopping. This is a huge relief. One of the things I've learned over my 3 years, 1 of a no-buy and 2 of budgeting, one of the things I've learned is that not shopping, like being on a complete moratorium, is much easier than budgeting. It just is. I'm looking forward to spending most of the days of the year, indeed most of the weeks of the year, as a person who is definitely not going to buy anything today and is definitely not going to buy anything tomorrow and is definitely not going to buy anything next week. You know what I'm saying? I'm excited to be in that headspace again. It was the best thing about my no-buy year, the release, the relief, the simplicity. So second, and I think that this is related, I'm hoping that this plan will help me to generate good content around resisting the urge to buy stuff during my no-buy times. I like making content about resisting the urge to shop, and during these long no-buy stretches, that kind of content will organically emerge. The third thing that I expect that this will do is that it will help me generate interesting content around what I do decide to buy 4 times a year. Those will be 4 fun videos to film. And then lastly, and I kind of touched on this earlier, having it spaced out like this and not predetermining the budget at the very beginning of the year, it will allow me to reassess my financial situation and make an appropriate choice for the budget in each season. I'm not asking myself to predict now on January 1st what my finances will look like for the whole year. And I think that that's a good idea for me because I just don't know how the year is going to go. Basically, I'll be spending 4 micro budgets 4 times over the course of this year, and I'll decide on each micro budget when it's time to spend it. I'll make that decision by looking at my bank account, my income, and my prospects in that season. And I may or may not announce on YouTube how much I decide to give myself for each of these micro budgets. I will be sharing most or all of what I choose to buy each time, so you'll probably be able to get a general sense. But I would like to make my discussion of budgeting less about the specific amounts and more about the theory. And this is partly because, all budgets are relative to individual circumstances. So the numbers matter way less than the theory. They matter way less than the decision-making process itself. And over the past 2 years doing this on YouTube, I've learned that they can often distract from the theory and distract from the unpacking of the decision-making process. So it's partly because I'm trying to refine my content in that way, but also, honestly, the public exposure is just wearing me a bit thin. I have to redraw the lines just a little bit to make this whole thing more emotionally sustainable for me because I want to keep doing it. What matters most and what will matter most to my content, I think, is that I will be shopping within my own personal limits during these tiny seasons and then ceasing to shop for 3 months at a time. I am, living in Julia and Oliver's dining room, or maybe you don't know. If you don't know, let me tell you, I am living in Julia and Oliver's dining room. Julia and Oliver are friends of ours. We live in their house, but I'm living in their dining room. There are no closets. I very much hope that I am able to adhere to my aspiration towards fewer, nicer things. Even after having the year of less stuff in place and then kind of releasing myself from it, I'm still wary of certain facets of my own impulse towards acquisitiveness. And honestly, I am also getting somewhat weary of much of the way in which things come in PR. It really is a form of income. It saves me from having to buy certain things. It saves me from having to spend money that I'm not making because my channel is still small and because I almost never do sponsored content. And it's not because brands aren't asking me to. It's because I don't want to flood my channel with sponsored content, especially not sponsored content of a certain kind. So PR is something that I'm earning with my work, but I don't like how it continually interrupts my process of using up what I already own. And I don't like how much time it takes for me to process and redistribute it. It's a whole thing. Especially living in this small space, I think that I'm just getting tired of the rigmarole in some ways, not like sick to death of it. I'm just starting to get a little weary of it. And listen, I'm not looking for advice about what to do with PR. I'm not taking a public opinion poll. I will decide what to do, as I always have. I'm just letting you know that it's one of the many things about my life and my experience running this YouTube channel that are in flux here, that aren't decided here at the beginning of 2021, the things that are in flux. For the time being, I will continue to judiciously accept some PR for review. I mean, I already have, I feel, been turning down more and more things as I've been feeling more and more this way. But I will continue to accept some things, and I will plan on using this channel's own funds to buy the occasional piece of makeup for review, specifically so that not all of my reviews will be at the behest of brands and corporations. So that's my plan. That's like my personal plan. But again, I don't feel confident enough, or I don't feel like obsessed enough with the expected outcomes to label it my X year or my year of X. It's like my name is Hannah and I'm just trying to keep my shit together and evolve as a beauty lover and career creative living through late stage American capitalism during a global pandemic that decimated my business and most of my dreams. But that doesn't exactly roll off the tongue at the beginning of every video, if you know what I mean. But I think that there's another reason too that I'm not labeling the year in advance, and that has to do with emotional and energetic sustainability. I want to keep doing this. I want this channel to keep going. I love this work, but I can't keep my personal growth under a microscope forever. I can check back in about it periodically, and I mean, I will check back in about it periodically. I can't help myself. I always talk about my feelings. So it's not like I'm gonna stop ever talking about my personal growth. I just need some time to live and put my new tools into practice. And I've been talking about this with Joe. I was like talking to him recently about how to proceed on YouTube, and he said, maybe you should just film what you love. And I was like, so I made a list. I brainstormed. I made a list. It's called What Do I Love? And here's what's on it. It was just like an off the cuff, bullet list. So not in order, but I was just writing what I love filming and what I feel excited about filming. editorial and conceptual makeup content, right? So inspiration tutorials, get ready with me's, but stuff that has kind of like a slightly unusual bent or an off the beaten path bent. Single product reactions and reviews. I just love filming single product reviews. I know that not everyone likes watching reviews, but I absolutely love filming them. So if that's that's what we're making a list of, it's on there. Group product assessment videos. So like budget recommendations, like budget skincare recommendations, like cream cheek favorites, like those videos where you're kind of like drawing on your knowledge of everything you've tried and putting them together, top 5 of stuff. Market commentary. So new makeup releases, discussions of new makeup releases. And I do enjoy that partly because it's interesting on its own. And I also enjoy kind of like looking at that stuff through the lens of someone who's trying not to acquire too much, trying to use what I have. In that vein, I really love filming revisiting my own collection videos. And this category encompasses like a whole bunch of classics, duping the vibes, shopping my stash, little experiments that I do on myself to refresh and examine my relationship with what I own and love and to provoke feelings of excitement around what I already have. Fashion and style lookbooks. I've been doing a little bit of this lately, but I would really like to get into doing it more. I love filming videos in which I discuss keeping my head with regards to spending. So anti-hauls fall into this category, and they also have to do with market commentary, but also things I wanted but didn't buy, talking myself out of specific things. Lauren does this, what I'm using instead. And I did have an old series that I should probably revive called Makeup I Have That's Better Than Makeup I Want. I freaking love filming the overhead shot videos. I absolutely love that. So curating my own palettes, swatching stuff. I really like filming what's cheering me up right now. That's like a makeup and lifestyle favorites video that I do once in a while. I really enjoy those makeup philosophy videos, makeup and shame, makeup and fantasy. I'd like to come up with some more ideas that fit into that series. And I love making videos about my general consumer philosophy. I'd like to do one about how to shop secondhand. I like those videos about resisting overspending at sales. I'd like to do more content about like kind of choosing what to buy and the process of deciding how to spend one's budget or how to like pick one thing over another thing and make wise decisions that will kind of last as good decisions in the years to come. So it was easy to make this list, right? And I'm sure that this list isn't comprehensive. I'm sure that it will get longer. I literally did this in like under a minute. But making this list made me realize that I haven't been loving filming my check-ins lately. And again, it's not that I never want to talk about my personal experience or my personal growth. It's not the filming of a check-in itself that's not fun for me. It's the requirement that they be at monthly intervals. Because the end of the month, the transition from one month into the next, does not always come at a good time, right? A lot of times at the end of the month, I'm right in the throes of whatever it is I usually check in about. And I like to wait until I've had some distance and been able to reflect so that I can actually report back about it in a way that makes sense. This happened very recently. My check-in from end of November, beginning of December, it went up on like December 18th because when it was time to film it, I was just like, I don't know. I was like, I'm going through it. I can't talk about it right now. And by the time I felt like I could talk about it, it was almost the end of the next month. But that meant that there were like 18 days of stress and guilt because I hadn't yet done this thing that I have it scheduled on my calendar to do every month. So I expect that I still will film check-ins this year, but I want to stop doing it on a monthly calendar and just start doing it whenever it's right for me. I want to do it at the time that's organically the right time to check in about stuff. So that's what I'm going to do. And I expect that it will immediately increase my bandwidth for a whole bunch of other kinds of videos, which contain the same kinds of materials that you guys love in check-ins, just in slightly different formats. And in fact, it's already kind of starting to happen. Like this is just the first day of the year and I'm already like, oh, I think I want to film something about New Year's resolutions. And I think I might want to do a channel. I think I might want to do a video about like systematically going through and using every piece of makeup that I have, or like every item of clothing that I have. Like I'm having these ideas for things that I want to do that I felt too exhausted to do before. And I think that the thing that was exhausting me was this structural process, this structured and scheduled process of self-examination and personal, and like the petri dish of my personal growth being under a microscope. So I'm thinking of it as a year of filming what I love. And many of you have suggested in the comments the year of grace, which I absolutely love. I mean, grace has many definitions. One of my favorite definitions I've ever heard is that the definition of grace is calm during change. So it's that, but it can also mean a kind of respect, a kind of courtesy. It's like I'm giving myself grace and you guys are giving me grace by letting me just film what I love. I love talking about makeup on camera and clothes and style of all kinds, and the application of makeup and the curation of one's wardrobe and one's personal style, one's choices. I love talking about this stuff on video, making these videos, because the people who like to watch me talk about this stuff, you share this striving with me, right? We're striving to nourish and cultivate our love of beauty. We're trying to make healthy our love of color and texture and shape and design. Here in the 21st century, sometimes self-care means buying the lipstick, and sometimes it means resisting the urge to buy the lipstick. That is not as simple as it sounds. And it's also not as superficial as it sounds. And for me, being a beauty influencer means being in those trenches. And from there, helping you think about the fact that your love of beauty might go beyond makeup. It might be a kind of spirit that you have. And my hope is that this year, a year of filming what I love, will help me get ever better, ever more effective at that work. And that is it. That's the video. I really, really, really appreciate you for watching. And I hope that you're remembering to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.